Well, we made it in the end.
I was starting to think we'd never see it again. But here we are. This is Minato.
Do you dream of the chance to get drop-kicked by a lava monkey the size of a building? Of course you do. And goodness gracious, is Wild Hearts excited to make that dream a reality. Omega Force and EA's take on co-op monster hunting is a remarkably familiar one, spicing up enormous elemental animal fights with on-the-fly building mechanics. But even though its crystal clear inspirations lead to unavoidable comparisons that aren't always flattering for Wild Hearts, learning how to best take advantage of its Karakuri contraptions both in and out of fights is always a lot of fun. Let me be perfectly blunt. It's nearly impossible to talk about Wild Hearts without bringing up Monster Hunter. That's not to put it down as a clone or anything, with plenty of interesting additions to the formula of its own. But in pretty much every way that counts, Wild Hearts is so fundamentally Monster Hunter that you could very easily mistake it for the newest game in that series. That's true of its giant monster slaying missions, which have you whittling down your opponent and breaking their body parts across different arenas. It's true of the crafting-based equipment progression, which has you turning those fearsome beasts into cool pairs of pants with your choice of 8 drastically different weapon types. And it's even true of its campaign structure, which escalates and remixes previous encounters alongside a fine but largely ignorable story about creatures unexpectedly attacking outside of their usual territory. Importantly, Wild Hearts plays this recognizable part very well, making it extremely easy to recommend to any current Monster Hunter fan hungry for new prey. Its combat recaptures that excellent mix of tactical and terrifying, pushing you to be thoughtful about your attacks and pick your moments carefully against foes who can often make your health bar disappear in the blink of an eye. Although Wild Hearts has followed in the footsteps of recent Monster Hunters by increasing your mobility quite a bit. It's as much about learning the ins and outs of each monster, your weapon's capabilities, and even the terrain around you as it is about actually executing the right button inputs. But because Wild Hearts is not actually a Monster Hunter game, it gets to unburden itself from certain mechanics that have started to feel a little dated as Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Rise continue to streamline the series. I didn't miss things like weapon sharpening or cluttered inventory management. That said, Wild Hearts does lose a little bit of the complexity I enjoy about Monster Hunter along the way. For example, you can't choose to capture monsters, they don't get tired or go to sleep, and their rage mode simply seems to trigger when they hit a certain damage threshold, which makes fights play out more similarly from hunt to hunt. But the ground-up approach Wild Hearts has taken does mean it's simpler to pick up, making it easier for me to recommend to brand new hunters than even Rise was.
All in place.
The biggest way Wild Hearts truly sets itself apart is in its excellent Karakuri building system. Outside of combat, Karakuri allow you to place structures like fast travel tents, zip lines, crafting stations, and even decorations anywhere across its 4 hunting maps and hub town. This system is delightfully flexible, turning the wonderfully detailed maps into little puzzles to be solved in whatever way you see fit, rather than just static arenas to fight in. During those fights, your Karakuri play the role of quick-use support items.
All in place.
You can summon stuff like simple blocks to jump off of or build walls with, and springs to launch you in any direction. Everything you place sticks around until it's destroyed, too, so battlefields are often strewn with the remnants of past encounters, which is especially neat when you join someone else online and see their version of the world. This system is interesting already, but it really shines when you start unlocking Fusion Karakuri. These let you stack basic objects in specific patterns to make special constructs like huge bombs or chain traps, which ends up feeling like a mini combo system to master. Outside of your mechanical contraptions, each of the 8 different weapon types play very differently from one another. There are your standard options, like a middle-of-the-road katana, a huge but slow hammer, or, well, literally just a gun. There are also a couple of unique choices, like the quick-bladed umbrella that's built around parrying attacks. Wild Hearts combat is always a fun dance of reading attack patterns and timing both strikes and dodges well, but it was admittedly a little daunting until I found the weapon that really clicked with me, the Claw Blade. This fast slicing knife also lets you pretty much fly through the air after hooking onto a monster, making for some absolutely epic moments as you strike from above. The monsters themselves are all fun to fight, with their cool designs each boiling down to normal animal plus elemental type multiplied by big. It's always satisfying to learn their behaviors and turn an initially challenging encounter into something beatable through practice and grinding alone. Although it should be said that Wild Hearts really feels like it wants you to play co-op rather than solo, as downed allies can be resurrected without using one of your 3 deaths when in a party of 2 or 3 people. Stay with me. But while all the monsters are exciting to face, the amount and variety of them is a little low. There are only about a dozen base monster types, with some then having a recolored variant with a different elemental type. For example, the Fume Beak trades its poison for ice as the Pearl Beak, with some new moves to match. Monsters are also buffed into stronger versions of themselves after a certain point in the campaign to reset the bar and give you better versions of their equipment to chase. This structure also closely mimics Monster Hunter games, but the comparison is so direct here, the lower variety noticeably stands out. I haven't necessarily gotten bored of fighting these monsters, but their reuse happens alarmingly quickly, and makes the overall pool feel pretty shallow as a result. That may also be a symptom of Wild Hearts' campaign, which is quick to put you up against foes it's confident you won't be able to beat without proper preparation. That means doing side missions or replaying past ones to collect monster parts so you can craft new armor and upgrade your weapons through a sprawling tech tree. It's another system that's as fun as it is familiar. There's slightly less to tinker with here than I'd hoped outside of planning around some simple perks. Those can be exciting buffs like a chance to light enemies on fire, or less thrilling options like largely invisible stat increases. That meant I always enjoyed upgrading my build, even if I wish I had a few more knobs to turn. If imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, then Omega Force is using Wild Hearts to flirt hard with Capcom. But using a beloved game as a template for a new one isn't necessarily a bad thing, and Wild Hearts manages to introduce plenty of fun new ideas to the Monster Hunter formula while recapturing it well enough to stand proudly alongside the series that so clearly inspired it. The way it simplifies and streamlines things makes for a slightly shallower package, but its Karakuri building adds a fresh new way to interact with the map in its place. And while its lower monster variety is certainly disappointing, I'm still having enough fun that I'm excited to party up with some friends and dive back into both challenging endgame fights and fanciful Karakuri decorations alike. For more action, you can check out our reviews of the excellent Hi-Fi Rush or the not-so-excellent Wanted Dead. And for everything else, keep it right here on IGN.